Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Thursday, June 16th. I'm Robert Blaszkiewicz, Assistant Managing Editor of the Times. Joining with me today is Doug Ross, Editorial Page Editor of the Times, and Times columnist Mark Kiesling. We'll be talking about the latest in political news. Lots of things going on with the casinos. We have over in Illinois, obviously, the waiting to see whether Pat Quinn, the governor, will sign a massive gambling expansion bill. And then over here on Indiana side, we have a couple things going on. Majestic Star laying off, news that Majestic Star will be laying off employees, and the ongoing negotiations between the state and Ameristar on getting possibly the Klein Avenue Bridge rebuilt.
Well, and Ameristar is in a tough place. I mean, it's got a deadline. The state says, look, cough up the money by roughly this time next week, or that Klein Avenue Bridge isn't going to get built. Well, Governor Pat Quinn from Illinois hasn't signed the legislation yet that would greatly expand gaming.
Right. And the indications are that he's not going to.
Right. But
the indications are that he thinks the bill is too broad. He thinks it creates too many casinos.
He has said that.
And I don't see this going anywhere right now until they come to some kind of compromise.
Right.
Now, you're correct. We're talking about putting a casino in Chicago, perhaps at McCormick Place, perhaps at Navy Pier. I was told by someone that all the electronic wiring is in place at McCormick Place for a casino. It was built that way deliberately. So there's a possibility it could go in McCormick Place.
And of course, the farther north it goes, the less burdensome it is, presumably.
True. Well, and my contention has always been that if you build a casino downtown Chicago, let's say on Navy Pier, what you're going to draw is you're going to draw two people. You're going to draw tourists and conventioneers. Mm-hmm. Chicago is one of the biggest convention towns in the world. You're going to draw conventioneers. It's also one of the biggest tourist towns in the world, cities, I should say, and that's where it's going to come from. A lot of our casino revenue comes from the southern suburbs of Chicago, the south side of Chicago. They're not going. It's going to be closer for them to go to Hammond or East Chicago than it is going to be for them to go to Navy Pier or to McCormick Place.
So the real pressure would be a South Suburban casino.
I was just going to say. The real question is the South Suburban casino. The location I've heard, and you've probably heard too, is Fort Heights.
It's a logical choice.
They went, obviously, my guess is that if Mayor Beck of Chicago Heights, Mayor Saul Beck, welcomed the Gentlemen's Club, I hesitate to call them that, but the Gentlemen's Club, the Atlantis, which was, if such a place can be called a high class place, it looks high class. So the talk is that they would be putting it right across the street from that, kind of building a little a mini Las Vegas, if you will, in Fort Heights. I know that sounds very strange, but that's what. Now that would become extremely problematic, I think, for Northwest Indiana.
And of course, here are all these influence happening right now, and so it's a really tough time for the casino industry to try to sift, where's the industry going?
Well, and this is why I have just, I've preached and preached for years that our municipalities need to stop relying on casino money for things that they need, like police and fire and just your basic garbage collection. They started out, unlike the lottery, which started out as supposedly as an education boost. These were designed to give cities money for infrastructure, and that's where it was originally spent. New sewers, new streets, new street lighting, And you can go through Hammond, for example, and see just examples of when that casinos first got there, where streets were torn up all over the city, and they were putting new sewers in, and they put new street lights in, new ornamental street lighting, or oriental street lighting, Councilman Anthony Higgs said, and new street paving. And that's what you need.
Well, and it's not just patching potholes and giving
No,
a light
it's
coat.
putting down
It's
a whole
a
new
brand
streets.
new street.
Yeah.
And there are many streets in Hammond that have been, that have been wholesale repaved. And that's what you need to do with it, because you can't take that away. If the casinos go away, and they may someday, what are you going to do? How are you going to pay the police officers? All of a sudden you've got 60 police officers that are paid for out of casino money, and they go
And that's
away.
going to be a tough
What do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take the street. You don't take the street lights down. They're paid for. You don't rip up the streets. They're paid for. You don't pull out the sewers. They're paid for. But what do you do with your firemen? What do you do with your policemen? And that's why they've got to be so careful on what they spend their money on.
Speaking of infrastructure, something we've been talking about the past couple of weeks is the Little Calumet River levees and maintenance, and how we're going to go forward with maintaining those levees. What's the latest?
Well, Friday, George Van Til, who's the main proponent of the Calumet Burns Conservancy District, is talking to the Lake County Advancement Committee, kind of continuing his.
But George Van Til is a Lake County surveyor.
Right, and so he's trying to sell this plan to, you know, communities and business leaders and community leaders throughout the you know, what would become the Conservancy District. Hammond City Council, I thought, was pretty interesting Monday night when
It was, and what they did was there was a substantial opposition in the crowd to this district, and the council decided to table it for 2 weeks. They didn't cancel it. They just tabled it for a couple of weeks. And I was talking to Mayor McDermott this week. McDermott is a proponent as well of
yeah,
this district.
maybe not as strong as Van Til, but
Well,
he's a
he
proponent.
said he's going to let Van Til proselytize. He said he said he doesn't want to get involved outside the city of Hammond, because he feels that, you know, he would become a political lightning rod. He said this has been developed by FEMA engineers. He said it's not his project, but he supports it. And he is hopeful that he is going to be able to get the council to come. Not all the council, by the way, is affected by this. There are 3 districts, the first, second, and third district in the northern half of the city are not part of that watershed, so they don't even factor into it.
now the urgency of maintaining the levees is there's got to be a plan in place, you know, whatever it is. There's got to be a plan in place to do that,
Right.
or the Corps of Engineers is not going to take the
Yeah.
protected lands out of the floodplain.
And there's
so.
2 primary factors at work here. One is funding the maintenance, and the other is administering that funding.
Well, the levees are not going to maintain themselves. I mean, they're not self-regenerating, you know, pieces of concrete. So someone's going to have to pay for it, and it just makes sense to me, anyhow, to have the people that live in that watershed pay for it. Whether you be right up on the river, where you would pay more, or if you were out farther away, where you would pay less. You know, and I understand people in St. John and Dyer, they say, oh gee, why should we pay for this? Our houses didn't flood. We're not in the Little Calumet River. They don't understand that the watershed cuts right through St. John, and south end goes towards the Kankakee River, north end goes into the Little Calumet. And as they continue to improve, they build new schools, new shopping centers, things like that. The water has only one place to go, and that's into the ditch, and that's into the Little Calumet River.
Yeah, a good way to understand this would be to take the downspouts off your house and watch the water that's
Watch where it
falls on
goes.
the roof. It's going to go into your basement,
Yeah.
and so that tells you the story of all of these roofs, all of that paving. It just displaces water, and so that makes the problem much worse. So.
Real quickly, one last topic. We've been following, obviously, with great interest what's been going on with the investigation in the Lake County Sheriff's Department. And so what's the latest there, Mark? You've been reporting on that.
Real quickly, the latest we've had is that they are investigating the use of wireless cards that may have been given out as political favors. Used to be the sheriff gave out badges as political favors. Now, in this
the 21st century.
In this 21st century, they bought about 200 wireless cards, which allows you free internet access, and most of them went to police officers. They put them in squad cars, giving them immediate internet access in their squad car,
Right.
Which is what they're designed for, which is what they're meant for. But some of them managed to sneak out, supposedly, to people who were non-police personnel, and over the last 5 or 6 years, it's about $50 a month for the cards.
Right, yeah, just to clarify,
yeah.
it's free internet access for the people that have the cards,
Exactly.
but it's paid for
It's
by
paid
the
for-
taxpayer.
Right, and supposedly it's cost about $180,000 over the last 5 or 6 years. Now, the interesting thing here is that the money has been coming out of the commissary fund, and what makes that even more interesting is that it's been coming out of the commissary fund for some of it for federal prisoners, which is why you have, which is supposedly now why you have the Food and Drug Administration involved. Money that is supposed to be spent on food for federal prisoners has been diverted to buying these wireless cards for non-police personnel.
Right, and as this investigation continues, that's just one aspect of it. I'm sure there are going to be many other things that come to light.
As it begins to crack open, you're just going to see more and more people
Absolutely.
come out of the woodwork, and the investigation is just going to get larger.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to keep you, the reader, abreast of all those developments, along with all the rest of the political news. And we thank you for watching this week, and we'll be back next week with another edition of the Political Roundtable.